Hey guys, welcome to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. Today is T20 World Cup time. The preview, the games, the team, the countries, the breakout starter is all going down in the next 45 minutes. If you enjoy this, guys, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are 11 subscribers away from 1,000. Last big push, T20 World Cup time. Let's get over there. T20 World Cup, it's Rob, it's Rich, it's the podcast. Let's roll. How are you, Rich?
I'm good, Rob. How are you? All good. Love the hair. Well, when I say I love the hair, I mean I hate the hair. But
Thanks, mate. It's lockdown haircuts that it just happened. But it could be another 12 weeks till I get to an actual barber's in New Zealand. So it's livable from indoors, which is good. But one thing that's going to aid my livability during lockdown leading up to Christmas time, mate, T20 World Cup.
Here it comes.
Starting Sunday, mate. What's the excitement levels?
High. I wouldn't say we're at 11 yet, but we're getting there, aren't we? IPL's just wrapped up yesterday. Clear space now, isn't it? It's all about runway.
It's the runway, mate. All the teams, all the players start filtering into the country, getting ready to roll. Talk us through it. So we've got a structure of how we're going to work this today. We're going to talk through the structure to the competition and what's going on, who the favourites are, the pitches, the tactics, and then breaking it down via the initial group stage teams A and B, and then into the subsequent group stages A and B. And from there, we're going to break it into who's going to qualify from that, who's going to go on and win it, and when does the trophy turn up in New Zealand. That's the basis of the conversation.
Ooh. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I think a lot of people were saying that's utter nonsense, but yeah, let's start at the beginning, Rob. I've heard that's a pretty good place to start. So, kicks off qualifying stage. That's what we've got. We've got 8 teams. Qualifying stage is going to be held in Oman. Apparently, it's a very picturesque setup over there. So the hosts are going to be taking on Papua New Guinea, boys from your neck of the woods, in the tournament opener tomorrow, which is October the 17th. So we have 2 groups of 4. They'll play each of the teams in their group once. No other complications there. Top 2 from each group will progress to the Super 12 stage. So Group A is Ireland, Namibia, Netherlands, and Sri Lanka, 2-time beaten finalists. Group B is Bangladesh, Oman, Papua New Guinea, and Scotland. So we have a real mix there of teams, likes of Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Once big boys are sort of reduced to qualifying now again, aren't they? Yeah. We then have the Super 12 stage. We're going to be played in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates, and it's split into 2 pools. We have Group 1 of Australia, England, obviously runners up last time out, South Africa, West Indies winners last time out, as well as the Group A winner and the Group B runner-up. Group 2 is Afghanistan, India, New Zealand, and Pakistan, plus the Group B winner and Group A runner-up. So it's as simple as that. The Super 12 stage will be getting underway on the 23rd of October with a double header of Australia, South Africa, followed later that day by a replay of the final in 2016 of England against the West Indies. Easy as that, Rob. Easy as that. And if you want to take it just for completion's sake, top 2 sides from each Super 12 group will qualify for the semi-finals, and the winners of which go through to the showpiece final set for November the 14th at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. November the 14th is when this will come to a head. So 17th of October, it gets underway. Just under a month later, it is the final. And then we'll be celebrating an England win.
Very nice. What do you think of the structure? Before we move on to the preparation and betting and pitches and tactics and that sort of thing. Structure, the minnows, associate teams generally, plus Sri Lanka and Bangladesh filling in that initial qualifying stage. Bear in mind, they went through qualifying back in 2019 for this competition through 2 different phases to get to this point.
Yeah, it's probably a compromise, isn't it? Because there's obviously, you could either expand. They've tried different amounts of teams each time they do this tournament, basically, haven't they? So, but at least with this way, we're getting 12 teams in the main part, aren't we? And at least 2 of those potentially could be relatively small teams. No disrespect to an Ireland or a Netherlands or a Scotland or whatever. So at least they are including them. It's not a closed shop tournament. I would like it to be a little bit bigger, but at least they've got those 8 teams in there in the qualifying after they've done the pre-qualifying and the pre-qualifying, clearly, previous to this. But at least they are in here, they are present, and they are taking part. I just want to make sure that there is enough coverage of it. I think I would have liked maybe the Super 12 to be a Super 14, perhaps. Just a little bit bigger, but then hey, everything changes. So next time this competition comes around, I'm sure it'll be more teams or it'll be a different setup. So It is what it is.
It is what it is. Pre-season, pre-competition favourites, Rich. Where are we looking?
Well, you know, as a big betting man as I am, so
yeah, right. That plastered across the background.
The odd accumulator that I lose. Yeah. England and India, current favourites, but both teams have not had much preparation, have they? Only 6 and 8 games played respectively in the calendar year. So obviously England's lack of game time, we have to mention it, partly due to their late dropout of the 3-game, 4-day epic long visit to Pakistan that they could not do, that 4-day trip. Meanwhile, others are just South Africa, they've played 18, Pakistan and West Indies 17. So it just shows you, that they're going to be a much more organised, well-drilled teams. However, do we put much stock in this? Players from all nations have been involved non-stop T20 franchise over the last year or so. So the games played or not shouldn't mean too much in the grand scheme of things. I'd say the positive to take from that is, the need to develop a team ethos and understanding very quickly in these teams. New people all coming together. They hit the ground running, don't they? Whether it's IPL, Big Bash, PSL, Vitality Blast, or the 100, whatever it might be, away you go. So England and India favourites, but then we've got West Indies, New Zealand, Australia, and Pakistan also will be heavily favoured. South Africa a little bit on the outside, it looks like, along with Afghanistan, and then we go into the likes of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Ireland, Scotland, etc. So, bit of a surprise. South Africa, they're quite a low in the favoured ranks, I'd say. But you can't argue too much of England, India, unless you're a Kiwi, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's all the wrong environment for Kiwis. And the group stages, but we will get into that a little later. I don't think you can go far wrong with England, possibly the finest white ball outfit that we've seen in quite a long time. One-day international cricket T20s. India, ever consistent, ever improving, ever huge wealth of depth that they've got to be able to call on. I can't go far wrong with that. But what about the pitches, Rich? What are we going to see in UAE and Oman? Because most people might not have seen cricket from there.
No. Well, Oman is going to be a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, we don't know much about that as well. I mean, what we do know more about UAE, because obviously there's been a lot of cricket being played over there.
Yeah.
The second leg of the IPL is just completed over in UAE, so we know really, the pitches are going to be helpful to bowlers. We've seen plenty of teams nearly getting skittled, if not getting through the wickets, let's say, rather than it being a 250 plays to 248 or whatever. Yes. So it's going to be a bowler's helpful setup, we think. It might be slow, conducive to spin. That's what we'd expect. But it seems like in the second half of the IPL that some of the quicks, Kagisa Rabada, Lockie Ferguson, Andrews Naughty, whatever his name is, they've seemed to have got some real success, real help from the greener than expected tracks. So it all depends on how they're prepared going forward. IPL might have dictated a little bit of what they want. It might just be UAE protecting the tracks that they can then probably take a little bit more off as the competition gets going. But if they do flatten out, obviously, and become as low as expected, then teams with the extra spinners, the batting all-rounders that spin, like, for example, England with Moeen Ali and Liam Livingstone, ravages age of India. They're the sort of players that could become absolutely crucial, I think, in this competition. Just a quick other unknown as well, just talking about factors that could dictate who has success and who doesn't. We're obviously living in the age of COVID still. We have bubbles still. We've talked a lot, been spoken about bubble fatigue, etc., hasn't it? It's all about the teams that can manage these things best. The mental health of players, etc., and staff is key. Can they make sure that they avoid that sort of stuff? It's still a month-long competition, isn't it? And they're already in this bubble. COVID, if there's an outbreak, who does it impact? Which players impacted? That could be, on the eve of a crucial game, as we saw with India in England in the 5th Test match. If it's an outbreak, who plays, who doesn't?
Yeah,
that could go a long way in dictating who has success alongside the pitches. Who do they suit? Yeah. If they're going to be spin-heavy pitches, it's going to be a rough tournament for a few teams, I reckon.
Yeah. I think it will. And before we get into the teams, I'm going to touch on Black Caps have just told Bangladesh. Now, I'm fully aware that Bangladesh is a different country to UAE and Oman, but the fact is they took a half second string team out there and were very, very much outplayed by a Bangladesh team, which New Zealand would beat 10 times out of 10 in New Zealand, and I think has beat them 10 times out of 10 in New Zealand. So it just goes to show experience, I think, is going to be a huge factor, and the guys that have played in the IPL will be coming in probably quite hot. Got used to the pace of the pitches, the spin, the pace of the outfields, the environment, the fatigue of playing in that heat. There is a lot to go on it, but I think the one thing we'll both agree on is we really hope COVID doesn't become a factor in any of this competition, that you get the best 11 playing the best 11 throughout the competition. But at the end, we turn around and go, what a great competition. Let's do it on boundary count.
Ooh, well, I think that's a fair way of deciding any final, to be honest with you. So before we get into the teams, Rob, I think we just need to remind ourselves what happened last time, don't we? 2016 final. I think this is probably why Ben Stokes isn't available at the moment. The memories have started to come back of the final over, wasn't it? So it was England West Indies, wasn't it? They contested the tournament final for the second time. Windies, they won in 2012 as well. Geez, it's difficult to talk about this one, wasn't it? But England got 155 for 9. Joe Root 54. Not enough. Carlos Braithwaite, he's going to come back into this in a minute. He took a few wickets. And then West Indies had 2 balls to spare. They reached the target to 2 balls to spare to become champions. If you remember, Carlos Braithwaite, that man again, they required 19 off the final over. Oh, no chance in the world. England's won this, haven't they? No. 4 sixes later, consecutive sixes later, game over.
Possibly one of the finest commentating calls I've heard in probably since Mark Nicholas with Steve Harmison with one of the great balls, with the slow ball, one of the great balls. It was I think it was Ian Bishop. I could be completely wrong, but it was Carlos Braithwaite. Remember the name. And it's just absolutely stuck. And whenever I'm watching cricket and Carlos Braithwaite is playing, I have that going through my head every single time. It's synonymous with him. And Darren Sammy as well, hats off, doffing the cap, 2-time winner as captain for the West Indies.
Yep.
It's absolutely incredible achievement. Probably should get a stadium named after him. Oh, wait. They did.
Yeah. And this is why West Indies, you can never discount them, can you? So Marlon Samuels was man of the match, 85 not out, highest score in a T20 World final history. I said that all wrong, but you get what I mean. Match was played in the capacity of 66,000 people in attendance. Let's see if they're going to be putting as many bums on seats in this competition going forward.
Let's kick it off, mate. Let's start Group A. Ireland, Namibia, Netherlands, Sri Lanka. Let's break it down.
Yeah, okay. So Group A. So this is a tough one, I reckon. This is the tough one. Or everyone's got a chance. So Ireland, big news for them was the uncapped left-arm spin bowling all-rounder Graham Kennedy was picked in the Andy Balbirnie-led Ireland squad. The coach by Graham Ford, really, really experienced, isn't he? But he's also brought on board William Porterfield and Gary Wilson, the ex-wicketkeeper. They're part of the backroom team. So they're quite close to the playing as well. They're relatively recently finished, haven't they, playing for Ireland? So I think Ireland are going to be absolutely expecting and demanding a top 2 finish. So with each team, we'll rattle through the squad, even if it's just for some of the teams, you can just laugh at my pronunciation. And then we'll pick a couple of players out, etc., and talk around it. So squad is Andy Balbirnie, Mark Adair, Curtis Camphor, 22-year-old South African born, only recently debuted for Ireland, exciting little player. Gareth Delaney, George Dockrell, Shane, get Kate. I've got to just say it like that.
I like
it. Get Kate. Oi, Shane. Get Kate.
Shane-o.
Graham Kennedy, Josh Little, Andy McBride, Barry McCarthy, Kevin O'Brien, still going at 37, Neil Rock, Simi Singh, Paul Sterling, Harry Tector, Lorcan Tucker, Ben White, and Craig Young. There's your squad.
Yowza. Well, for me, I look at this Ireland team. They've got one real good thing going for them, and they have played a lot of cricket in the UAE and Oman over the course of the history. 32 games they've played over there. 122, lost 10. Now, that is associate cricket and mostly qualifies to try and get to this competition. But you always look at things on a player-for-player basis. That's making these guys better than what they would be and giving them some sort of advantage. You start at the top. You can't look past Paul Sterling. Incredible. 61 in the 100 this year in the final. Really stepped up, had a good competition. Always does well for his country. 2,500 T20 international runs, average of 30, can sometimes turn his arm over. But I think the thing is, when you look at players like him, they just seem to just keep going. Like, he started when he was 18, 19 years old. He's played 11 games in this competition, and they've not gone really far in this competition. So it's quite an incredible achievement for him to continuously turning up and do it. Very similar to a Kevin O'Brien, who I think is a little out of favour within English counties, but played a lot of English county cricket, T20 Blast cricket, and has had big moments at international tournaments, over 100 T20 internationals to his name. 15 games in T20 cricket, mate, at the World Cup. That is a serious performer. Does it time and time again. And two of the guys who are game changing with the bat. And that's sometimes what associate teams really struggle with, is having guys that can go like the upper echelon of T20 international cricketers. These two can go and can cause carnage pretty soon.
Yeah, and you'd expect them to be opening up as well. So against any side, those two boys could just go off. As simple as that. You know, that is a hell of a platform. You know, whether the rest of the batting lineup is as strong as it could be, that's another question. But you've got Sterling and O'Brien likely to open, Andy Balbirnie, the captain at 3, the anchor, isn't it? It could be exciting. It could be exciting for them, and they've got to cash in. Those big names have got to cash in. Another key player, I'd say, Simi Singh, the 34-year-old frontline spinner. He's got to be one of their main men as well. And George Dockrell, perhaps, born-again batsman, the old spinner, is now a batsman that likes to smash it a bit. That sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure that could describe my my end of last year or so of cricket. But yeah, Simi Singh's going to be key. I think you need that frontline spinner in this country, don't you? And he's capable of destructive batting as well, isn't he? The principal off spinner. Yeah, put it that way. So okay, on to Namibia. All I ever think about with Namibia is Frankie Fredericks. It's like old Olympics memories, these are.
Yes.
Frankie Fredericks, loved him. Okay, so we're not talking about Frankie Fredericks, though, but what we are talking about is the former South African and county cricket well-known name, David Wiese. He's been included in their squad for this year's Cup, obviously. And this is going to be his second T20 World Cup, 5 years after his first for South Africa. There's a bit of this going on. Namibia are going to be led by ex-Leicestershire coach Pierre de Bruyn, who did not have a good time of it at Grace Road, but he's done pretty well for Namibia, and he's assisted also by ex-South African all-rounder Albie Morkel. So a pretty good backroom team. They're going to be well drilled, they're going to be well organised, and I think there's going to be some high expectations, at least within the squad, that they can make a splash and be a bit of a surprise package. So the squad is led by captain Gerard Erasmus, and they also have Stephen Bard, Carl Birkenstack, Michu Duprez, Jan Freilink, Zane Green, Nicol Lofty-Eaton. Like it. He get into the 11 of the double-barreled. I know commentators around county cricket are trying to get that 11, aren't they? And I can't quite get it yet. Bernard Schultz, he's played 100 list A games in South African domestic cricket, and he's going to be the lead spinner, so he's an important player. Ben Chikongo, JJ Smith, Ruben Trumpelman, Michael Van Lingen, David Weiss, Craig Williams, and Picky France. Love that name. It sounds like a rapper. So I like it. It's fun. It's a fun name.
I'm enjoying the pronunciations, mate. You're doing pretty well, because this is why I'm not doing them, because they're hard yak.
Yeah, and I've not prepared any of these, so it's just having a go. I love names like Ruben Trumpelman. Just sounds fun. So, but yeah, pick a couple out of this one. Obviously, Gerard Erasmus as the captain. David Weiss, we know a lot about him. This ex-Sussex, recently ex-Sussex as well, isn't he? Jan Freilink, I'll just quickly put in. He's quickest left arm, going to play a crucial role. Took a career best 6 for 24 bowling late on against UAE in a recent T20 international. So he's a man coming into a strike rate of 14.5 in T20, which is pretty good.
Yeah, very good players, mate. Gerard Erasmus has got to be one. He was the second top run scorer in the T20 World Cup qualifiers back in 2019, behind Paul Sterling. But he had an exceptional competition, mate. Averaged 38. He scored 77 against Namibia, or 77 runs in total. 22 internationals, very, very useful player. But I think the experience of having guys like David Wiese coming in, and it is changing allegiances slightly, but I haven't got a problem with it because I feel that you're actually enhancing associate cricket by having people do this. But the thing that he brings is experience of playing around the world. He's played South African T20, he's played T20 in England, he's played 3 games in the World Cup previously, PSL. He's played in the 100, the IPL 15 games, and he can score runs. He generally averages 33, 34 most years throughout domestic competitions. But this year specifically, he's dropped down to averaging 12. So he has seen a huge drop off, but can score at a strike rate of 150, and obviously can take wickets, economy rate about 8.5. He's class, and he's the sort of guy that can give teams chances in these competitions.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I think he's going to be absolutely key. And like you said, I've got no problem with it, as long as they're not, keeping somebody else out. What these players tend to do is that they tend to just, was it a high tide raises all boats, isn't it? So they're trying to improve the squad around them and bring that experience through. Yep. We also have another key player in this squad, JJ Smith, Johannes Jonathan Smith. He's another left-arm seamer. He can smack it a little bit as well. He was named as player of the tournament in the 2019 ICC World Cricket League Division 2. which Namibia clinched ODI status from that. So he's a player that's developing. He's somebody that they can look to as well. And it's all about who could those, the unknowns, who can become known in this tournament, isn't it? And he's the type of player that could get on the radar. If Namibia qualify, it's going to be because of people like this guy. Scoring runs, a few runs, but also taking the key wicket. So, yeah, it's going to be a big ask, isn't it? I don't think they're going to be highly favoured, but I think with the squad and the backroom team they've got, they're going to expect that they will progress themselves. There's going to be a lot of belief in the setup, but it's going to be a tough one for them to get through.
Also, you mentioned Jan Frillik. I'm going to pronounce his name completely different to how you...
Frillik.
Former South African under-19 bowler, played first-class cricket for Boland. Also, when you look at his statistics in his recent series since 2019, economy rate in the African regional final for the T20, 6.13. World Cup qualifiers, 6.24. 6.71 in the next series. UAE, 6. Constantly, I know it's associate cricket, but you're playing against associate nations to try and get into the Super 12, minus 1 or 2 teams. Absolute exceptional numbers.
Yeah, too right. They've got something about them. They've got some match winners, haven't they? It's just whether or not they can bring it to this tournament. So, Netherlands, they're going to have the services of 41-year-old Ryan ten der Schaarte. Everyone knows ten der Schaarte, don't they? The Essex legend. He was their second highest scorer as a defender, their title in the T20 World Cup qualifiers in 2019. He then told Peter Selaar, the actual a proper Dutchman, that he'd like to play another World Cup. So he's in the squad. Simple as that. If he wants to play, he can play, isn't it? Plenty of county cricket familiar names in this one. But again, tough group for Netherlands. I think you're probably looking at this and Namibia being on the outside looking in, but they won't think that. So, squad led by Peter Selaar. There's Colin Ackerman, one name we already know. Philippe Boissevin, 20-year-old leggy, could be a man to keep an eye on. Bas de Leader, Paul van Meekeren, Ben Cooper, Max O'Dowd, Scott Edwards, born in Tonga, Rob. Just a little one, brought up in Australia. And this guy, if anyone remembers the name of Scott Edwards from cricket, 2019 broke the record for highest score in a T10 game, playing for VOV Rotterdam. We know Rotterdam for about half a day, don't we? In the final of the inaugural Euro Cricket League final, 137 off 39 balls against German side SG Findorf.
Wow.
That deserves a mention. So anyway, Ryan ten der Schaarte, Tim van der Gugten, Roelof van der Merwe, Brandon Glover, Joe Berg, born quick, that took 16 wickets in 8 games in the qualifying event 2 years ago, with a strike rate of about 10, decent. Unused player for Oval Invincibles was Mr. Brandon Glover, so another one worth mentioning. Fred Klaassen, Kent player, and Logan van Beek and Steven Myberg. Lot of names knocking about there. So
it's pretty decent team, actually, eh? When you go through it and you're hearing the names coming out, you're like, I know him. Yeah. I rate him. It's useful.
Absolutely. There's some good performers, isn't there? So yeah, jump on it, Rob. Who do you want first?
I think we've got to start with Ralph van der Merwe, 36-year-old canny operator with the ball, unorthodox hitting, international experience, 42 T20 internationals. And he's just played a lot, mate. He's played a lot. Yeah. 2019, he was playing in the T20 Blast over in England. Same again in 2020. Same again in 2021. Got some cricket in the 100. So he's obviously highly rated, as well as being really useful in the T20 World Cup qualifiers, 14 wickets. Economy rate 5.24 playing T20 cricket is absolutely exceptional. He played in the Champions League T20, 6 games in the CPL, 3 games in the Big Bash, mate, 21 games in the IPL. That CV hired. You've got a job, mate. You're pretty good. Come and play for the Netherlands. And you can play alongside Ryan ten der Schaarte, who highest one-day international average in world cricket forever and ever. Amen. Absolutely exceptional player. Averages 44 in T20 cricket. Yeah, he's a little bit over the hill, but the man averages 41 in the UAE and he averages 48 in Oman. And he can hit a cricket ball like he knows what he's doing. He hits it very hard and he hits it very well, mate.
Yeah, a lot of experience in this squad, so who knows what they can achieve. Fred Klaassen, keep an eye on him, a Kent left-arm seamer, 19 wickets in the T20 Blast in the last year, one of the leading wicket takers in the competition. He also played 4 games for Manchester Originals in the 100 as well, taking 5 wickets. So he's another one that they're going to be looking to hang the hat on. Just a quick one as well with the young leggy. Somebody just to mention as well, Philippe Boissevin. Sounds more like a Frenchman, doesn't he? But he's their only leggy. He's going to turn 21 on the day of their opening match. So you just expect him to just go through a team. It's bound to happen, isn't it? He's celebrating his birthday, leggy, unknown. Get in.
What a time to earn some money as an associate cricketer. This is the biggest platform you've got to play on to try and get some contracts around the world. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've just had my cup of tea delivered, so on we go.
Thanks,
Sri Lanka, Rob. Sri Lanka. Mickey Arthur-led Sri Lankans. They've got to see themselves as absolute clear favourites to win this group and progress through. But they're going to have to be on the game. It's simple as that. Sri Lanka have included new mystery spinner Mahesh Theekshana. And he could be an X factor, really. I think it's worth keeping an eye on people like him. Sri Lanka love an unknown spinner, and they don't become more unknown than him. Up-and-coming superstar Hasaranga as well as in the squad, somebody that really impressed against England last summer. So the two-time runners-up and 2014 winners have had a rough run, obviously, as we know. Politics, contract issues, loss of experienced players, captains changing, it feels like, by the fortnight. But they've still got a pretty good squad. They've got some good names in this squad, so we'll break that down now. So Dasan Shanaka is the captain, one of Sri Lanka's 7 T20 captains since the last World Cup. 7! And this is already his second spell in charge. The vastly experienced Kusal Pereira, Dinesh Chandamal, Dhananjaya De Silva, Pathan Nisanka, Charif Asalanka, Avishka Fernando, Bhanuka Rajapaksa, Chamika Karunaratne, Wanado Hasaranga, Dushmantha Chamira, Lahura Kumara, Mahesh Theekshana, as we spoke about, Akila Dhananjana, and Binuro Fernando. All easily said for me. Whew. I'm just going to jump in first of all. Hasaranga, leggy, 36 wickets in 23 innings so far, an economy of under 7 and an average of under 16. He's got something about him. He's got box office. He's a big boy. He's going to be a big boy. I'm not saying he's overweight. He's going to be a big boy. He's going to be a name after this tournament, assuming Sri Lanka can get out of Oman and get across the border into UAE.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. Those wickets are big. But the economy rate, again, I keep coming back to economy rate because economy rate builds momentum and pressure in T20 games very quickly and enables your teammates. You're doing a job and you're enabling your teammate to do better because you're keeping things under control. So he definitely gives that. But make no mistakes about it. Sri Lanka are playing in the associate section first because they deserve to be. They have been a very, very poor team. Looking at the stats here, since 2016, after the last World Cup, 2016 was the last World Cup. How long ago was that? 5 years. 56 games. They have only won 16. That is.
It's been a rough ride. Yeah, it's been a rough ride, hasn't it? I think off the field stuff has been one of the biggest issues there. They're not bad cricketers, they're not bad players, but if you've got a constant state of flux and disruption and nonsense, you're not going to perform. I'm a Nottingham Forest football fan, and we've had 20 odd years of a constant state of flux and disruption. No wonder we've been crap for all those years. So it's completely understandable. But they have good players: Kusal Pereira, Chandimal, De Silva, with the ball. Chamira, quality performer. Chamira, he could be a star of the tournament. It wouldn't surprise me if they qualify. He's in the team of the tournament by the time this is done. It's a long shot, but hey, who knows? But they're a good team. They can be. Sorry, disclaimer. They can be a good team.
Can be a good team. The thing that's let them down over this period, looking at this, runs per over 7.53 is the second worst, with only a man behind them, and a man that's putting them in contacts for their quality against associate nations. Sri Lanka way behind Ireland, who average over 8. So they really do need. You're right. Kusal Pereira's got to be the guy that they're looking to. He's dangerous. He's attacking. He's fluent. And he's superb to watch. He scored 100 runs in 2 innings in the UAE so far in his career, averages 50, strike rate of 132. And he's just a solid player. Against the West Indies back in 2020, he averaged 40. Against South Africa in 2021, he averaged 34. Strike rates always 120 to 140. Played in the Champions League, played in the IPL, played in Sri Lankan domestic cricket. He's a good player. He to me, needs to be the strongest that he's been. If he fails, this top 6 could just absolutely capitulate, and you could see Namibia roll through them, which would be deeply upsetting for Sri Lankan cricket.
Yeah, that's the big concern for me with Sri Lanka. We don't want to dwell too much longer on these, but that's the big concern. is the batting. I think they've got the bowlers, they've got the different types of bowlers as well. They can really be competitive, but it's all about that batting. We've not seen enough consistency from any of these batsmen. Kusal Perera, third highest T20 run scorer ever for Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka have had some of the best T20 players ever, haven't they? I think Jai Warden is second. Jayasuriya is around there, but I'd imagine it's the MCC chairman, whatever his name was, who I've suddenly forgotten his name, the wicketkeeper batsman. How can I forget his name?
Sangakkara.
Oh my God, Kumar, I apologise. I'm sure he listens. But yeah, Pereira can be spoken about in the same sort of breath as those guys when you look at the achievements he's made in T20s for them. So let's get on to Group B, Rob. Group B is Bangladesh, Oman, Papua New Guinea and Scotland. Right, Bangladesh, straight into it. Mahmudullah, he's going to lead it with all the major players in the mix with the exception of Tamim Iqbal. He's not on this game. He's opted out of the tournament recently. Huge shame for him. We all know Tamim Iqbal. He's had a bit of county cricket in it as well, but he's been a star for them. Shakib Al Hassan, he's back after his ban for breaching the ICC's anti-corruption code. We won't say anything more about that, but it's a huge plus for Bangladesh anyway. Shakib Al Hassan was probably the leading all-rounder in white ball cricket before he got done for his indiscretions. So, squad of Mahmudullah as captain, Shakib Al Hassan, Mushfiqur Rahim, Sumya Saka, Liton Das, Afif Hassan, Mohammed Naeem, Nurul Hassan, Shamim Hussain, Mustafizur Rahman. I love the fact that the two Rahim and Rahman, sorry. Mushfiqur and Mustafizur. Mahidi Hassan, Nasim Ahmed, Mohammed Saifuddin, Sharif al-Islam, and Taskin Ahmed. So, we've spoken about Shakib Al Hassan. Mahmudullah is obviously absolutely key to this setup. You've got Mushfiqur and Mustafizur. Who else? Or talk to me about any of those if you want to pick some.
I've got to come back to you saying Tamim Iqbal is not available on this game. And I'm like, I bet he's not on Cricket 22 when that comes out. I've just had this moment. If I'm playing as Bangladesh, he's not going to be there. I'm absolutely heartbroken.
But you have Liton Das, up-and-coming player.
Yep, very, very good. Shariful Islam as well, very, very good player. 17 wickets, economy rate of 7.97. I think the thing that gets me with this team, Bangladesh historically have been pretty poor when touring other places, but at home are incredibly difficult to beat. We spoke about them beating a second-string New Zealand team, but it wasn't the fact they beat them, mate. They absolutely bossed it. Their spinners were top-notch. So their bowling unit is critical to them making it through this competition, putting the batsmen in good positions where they haven't got to chase 180 on a turning wicket. Even though they'll play well, the bowlers have really got to come through and shine. The batting unit, poor. The average 20 with the bat in T20 international cricket since the last World Cup. 50 games, 21 wins, win percentage. There's only West Indies, who we'll touch on shortly, but always have selection dilemmas going on. West Indies, Ireland and Sri Lanka behind them in terms of how they go and how they travel and how they win games of cricket. But even though they beat second string New Zealand, they're still beating them in their back garden. And then they're going in playing in this environment, which I think is going to be a really solid environment for them. And if they go through, there's potential to go into the group with, I think it's India and Pakistan. And they're going to be such huge games that bring out the best of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. And it's worth just noting as well that Bangladesh won the Under-19 World Cup last year. And they have included Sharif al-Islam and Shamim Hussain were both graduates from that winning side. So they might not be slated straight away to be in the 11, but hey, they know how to win a tournament, get them in there. So there is a nice mix of experience and some youth in this team, but they're going to be pushing it. I think they've got the better of the draw. I think if Bangladesh had ended up in Group A, I think they would have been struggling, wouldn't they? But at least they've got themselves a chance in this group. So Oman, the hosts. So apart from two uncapped players in Nesta Damba and Iran Khan, this is a really, really experienced squad they're going to be using here. Veteran all-rounder Zishan Maksud will lead the side and be coached, as they have been for the last 10 years, by 69-year-old Sri Lankan Duleep Mendis, who was basically overseeing the development of cricket in Oman from nothing. I don't think they even had a pitch, or at least not a grass pitch anyway, when he first started. So it's a squad largely made up of subcontinent imports who tend to arrive in Oman for various reasons, Rob. It's it can be for work, corporate reasons, etc., but it's not necessarily for cricketing reasons. So, as we said, the squad led by Captain Zishan Maksud. They've also got Akib Elise, Ayan Khan, Bilal Khan, Fayaz Butt, Jatinder Singh. Kalamullah is just Kalamullah. He's like Pele. Kawa Ali, Kuram Khan, Mohammed Nadeem, Nassim Kushi, Nesta Damba, Sandeep Good, Sufyan Mahmood, and Suraj Kumar, wicketkeeper. So, yeah, I'll let you jump in on that. But I think Zishan Maqsood has got to be the key for this team.
Yeah, exactly. Pakistan export has been in charge for about 3 years now. Veteran of their rise, and they keep getting better. And he's a absolute integral part of it. Probably the leader of the dressing room that keeps them going. The other guy is Bilal Khan, and you've mentioned him when we've been chatting. Touches 90 mile an hour, mate. That's a serious thing of pace. And when we're talking through the pitches and how they're going to play, you've spoke about, hey, spinners do well, and guys with excess pace can pick up wickets as well. And this guy already got 51 T20 international wickets in 34 innings. That's exceptional, with an economy rate of 6.79. I like that. I can't wait to see him bowl.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. Absolutely. So, yeah, they're well drilled. We spoke about Sri Lanka, the amount of flux that they've had and the amount of nonsense behind the scene. This is a solid setup. It's 10 years as a coach, Duleep Mendes. Maqsood's been around for a long time. It's a solid setup at the top, isn't it? They know their positions. They know what they need to do. It's just whether or not they've got the quality to bring it through. But they've got players that have played decent levels of cricket over in India, Pakistan, etc. Just got to bring it onto the international level. They're here for a reason, so good luck to them. Papua New Guinea, the Papua New Guinea. This is one close to you, Rob, isn't it?
It is, mate. My wife was born in Papua New Guinea, so yeah,
here we go.
I'm hoping to do really well.
So I'm sure she knows a lot about Papua New Guinea cricket now.
Loves it.
Yeah. So Asad Valla is the 34-year-old mainstay of this setup, and he's going to captain this homegrown and really together team at the maiden ICC World Tournament. They do also have links to Australia with the coaching setup and the admin and all that sort of stuff. They generally always do have, and the inclusion of a couple of guys that have been playing club cricket over in Australia, and Chad Soper and Jack Gardner. But it is really, a lot of this team is pretty much from the same area. In Papua New Guinea, so it's good to see that they've got a local team, if you want to call it that. Big ask, I think, for Papua New Guinea to progress, especially in light of the lack of games over the last year or so. Obviously, your part of the world, not much happening with COVID lockdowns, etc. Especially with Australia. So the squad: Asad Valla is the captain, Charles Amini, Simon Atai, Sesi Bao, Kipling Daru. You should read this squad. It's probably got your little Kiwi accent going on, but I'll do it anyway. Then you can correct me. Kipling Dariga, Jack Gardner, Hiri, Jason Killer, Nasena Pakana, Damien Ravu, Lega Siako, Chad Soper, Gaudi Toko, Tony Ura, Kabu Vagi Murray, and Norman Vanua, Van the Man, finishing it out. Key players, Rob, it's all over to you.
Oh, love it. I like the fact you did this. And I actually found a couple of legends. Tony Ura, who's probably going to be opening the batting for them, one T20 international century, also got the highest one-day international score for any Papua New Guinean with 151 that he scored against Ireland. Big time player for these guys, 25 games, 750 runs, can smack it, 35 sixes in 25 innings, strike rate of 140, can get the business done. Also, Norman Vanua, Super Van to his friends. That's his absolute name. 2019, he hit 54 against Kenya to drag Papua New Guinea to 118 at the time, before taking 2 for 19 in a 45-run win that secured the nation's spot for the very first time at the T20 World Cup. He's a class act, and they tried to get there. 2014, they were so close. 2016, they were so close. So for them to be able to get across the line is just incredible for them. And I like it. I really like it when minnows come through and get opportunities on the top level. And there's been countless times. I remember watching Brendan Taylor score 50-odd against Australia in a T20 World Cup way back and be like, this is awesome. And when a T20 World Cup was in England once, I got kitted out in Ireland gear and went and supported them. I got kitted out in Bangladesh gear and went with a couple of mates and watched them. It's just brilliant. And it's like the FA Cup when you've got just a minnow that's got a small amount of opportunity, and they might only get the opportunity, in Papua New Guinea's case, once every 18 years they've been trying to get to this stage. So it's brilliant. And I really, really hope they go out there, they enjoy it, and they just get something out of it. A moment, a catch. It could be a little spell of bowling where you rip through a team and just, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Aussie boys. There's something in there as well. The two Aussie boys. You shouldn't focus on them, but they did pretty decent cricket. So I'm sure they'll be leaning on those guys. Or they'll at least be hoping that they can bring something through for them. It's also worth noting as well. Papua New Guinea do not have to wait at all. They're straight into it. They're playing the host tomorrow in the opening game, so they've got a chance to impress straight off the bat. To use the cricketing phrase, right? Scotland. The beautifully named Kyle Kurtzer is the Scottish captain. It's not any Scottish type name at all. But so while the former England batsman Jonathan Trott has been roped in as the batting lead on their support staff. I still haven't got over Jonathan Trott. 2010-11 Ashes, the 5th test, it was celebrating the Ashes win. The players are coming round. I just wanted a photo. And I was just shouting to give us like a thumbs up or something. Yeah. And Paul Collingwood was like 2 bays across doing a speech to the Barmy Army, so nobody over here could hear. And he bloody shushed me. He shushed me, Jonathan Trott. Do you know what, Jonathan? I hope Scotland do dreadful. Oh. So, I can't stand the guy for that. So rude. Just that little moment, enjoying it, celebrating.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me coming to all these games, pal. So anyway, I've clearly got over that. So.
I don't even know where to start with Scotland now.
Actually, I really love Scotland. So here we go. Carl Kurtz, the captain, Richie Berrington, Dylan Budge, Matthew Cross, Josh Davey, Alistair Evans, Chris Greaves, Ollie Hares, Michael Leask, Callum McLeod, George Munsey, Safian Sharif, Chris Saul, Hamza Tahir, Craig Wallace, Mark Watt, and Brad Wheel. Callum McLeod is the big name here, Rob. 140 against England in 2018, wasn't it? And he's hit centuries all over the place. 175 against Canada. 157 against Afghanistan, where he dominated a certain everybody's favourite leg spinner in the world.
Yeah,
incredible.
It is incredible, mate. But do you feel the associate nations that are outside of the generic subcontinent of cricket are potentially going to find this quite hard against Bangladesh, against Sri Lanka? I feel for teams, especially like Scotland, if they were playing in England, I really feel like you might see something special, a special innings. But to do those innings in the subcontinent is just incredibly difficult. But you are right. Kyle Kurtz is going to be one of their main man. George Munsey as well. He's an absolutely fantastic player. He hit 67 from 25 deliveries 2 years ago to go with his 127 against the Netherlands. He's just a fantastic player. A 153 strike rate, a 141 strike rate in the T20 World Cup qualifiers. Played in the blast over in England. Didn't quite have the same impact. In fact, probably fair to say he probably struggles for a game. But on the international level against associate nations, he's a guy that gets in, bullies, does pretty well. And you talk about the bowling unit, you've got Brad Wheel thrown into the mixer as well. Playing cricket over in England and a lot of it. He's been around the blast for a long time, started his blast career all the way back in 2016. But 2021, real breakout year, 17 wickets at 7.87 economy rate. I like this, 13 games, 4 wides, 1 no ball. That's superb control over that period of time. And, you're going to need that. You play pretty mistake-free cricket to go and win in difficult conditions that it's going to be.
Can't believe you brought the extra stats out. Christ.
Mate, I was struggling.
so that's where we are with the 2 qualifying groups. So right, quickly, Ireland, Namibia, Netherlands, Sri Lanka. Who's your 2?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, I think you've got to go Sri Lanka.
Yep.
And I'm gonna back. It's either Netherlands or Ireland, and I think Ireland might just do it.
Same. Bangladesh, Oman, Papua New Guinea, and Scotland. I'm going Bangladesh. And it should be Scotland, but I'm going to go Bangladesh and Oman.
Okay. I'm going to go Bangladesh and Scotland.
Okay. Nothing to do with Jonathan Trott, that. I just fancy the hosts.
Of course not. Of course not. It's a T20 World Cup preview, but press it on hold, mate, because Jonathan Trott's been mentioned. I dislike him more than KP. I'm off.
No. He's in the same. He's in my 11. He's, if you want to call it like a really good players, but I don't like the bloke.
Okay.
He's in there. He's in there with KP. KP's the captain of that team. Don't worry about that. Right, let's rattle through. Let's keep going. Right, Group 1, Australia, England, South Africa, West Indies. Australia, So all Australia's first choice players who missed the recent tours of West Indies and Bangladesh returned for this, whilst wicketkeeper batsman Josh Inglis earned his maiden call-up after an incredible vitality blast. First player ever to score 2 centuries in the competition in the same year. If Justin Langer can keep things together and avoid beating up dustbins and whatever else he was doing, this squad should be a challenger. Big question recently over Marcus Stoinis, nursing a hamstring injury, but assuming he's fit, it's a pretty good squad. So Aaron Finch leads it, Ashton Agar, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, Josh English, Mitch Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Kane Richardson, Steve Smith, Mitchell Stark, Marcus Stoinis, Mitchell Swepson. They love a Mitchell in Australia. Yeah. Matthew Wade, David Warner, and Adam Zampa. I don't think we need to dwell too much on these sort of teams. People know the big teams, don't they? So I think let's rattle through them. But if you want to pick a couple of names out, you don't have to give too much reason as we go through.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of points to make. One, is Langer still the man in Australia? This is going to be absolutely huge. If they crash and burn early doors, mate, expect some fireworks coming out the press. 2, David Warner and Steve Smith have been absolutely useless in the second half of the IPL. They are critical to this team. When they were away, it's like, just wait till we get them back. Wait till we get them back. Wait till we play you at the Gabba. Tim Payne, leave it alone. We'll see you at the Gabba and you'll still lose. But their form is pretty ropey, mate. They've won 6 out of the last 21 games, but there's hope. The 2 guys that are going to be critical to this team, one, Josh Inglis is going to be the breakout player of the competition.
Yep.
I think I spoke about him on a previous pod that we did. 405 runs in the Big Bash in 2019, 413 in 2020, and then the big 531 in the T20 Vitality Blast. Other one, Glenn Maxwell. His bowling isn't quite what it used to be, but 513 runs in the IPL at an average of 42, mate. He was great in the Big Bash, averaged 32, 379 runs. His bowling, though, I feel has got worse over time and is more passable. Like he can fill in some overs, but do not expect him to go and take 3-4 wickets. You're trying to get a few overs out of him, maybe going at under 8 and over. So it does put pressure on your Mitchell Starks, Pat Cummins, and also the job that the spinners need to do as part of this team. It's Ashton Agar's got, they're not big shoes to fill, but he's got a really responsible job in difficult, it's favourable conditions, but when there's favour to a spinner, it creates added pressure in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely. Mitch Stark, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, the seam attack. It's also worth mentioning as well, Mitchell Marsh has had some really good performances of late. I think over in West Indies or against West Indies, he was man of the match in more games than he wasn't. So he's somebody that, although you might not find a spot in the starting 11 for him straight away, he's been a really crucial player. But it's that bowling attack, isn't it? World class. Josh Hazlewood in there as well. Questions over Swepson as a spinner, up and coming. Let's see what he does. But Aaron Finch, forget about Warner, forget about Smith. Aaron Finch is the key batsman for me in that setup. England.
Yay! Also, Mitchell Marsh scored 100 in the latest List A game in Australia. I was just double checking my facts there.
He's doing all right.
I did watch the highlights. Yeah, let's go. Let's go, England.
Hey, they've got to keep up with the Mitchell quota, haven't they? So they've got to get at least 2 in every team they play ever. So England, big news for England was the Timol Mills call-up. Obviously, no Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes as he continues his indefinite break from the great game. Although we are really encouraged by the fact that we've seen little videos of Ben Stokes having some throwdowns with the bat as well. So that's great news. Owen Morgan's form is a concern, obviously. But so we do hope, as much as I joke about it, but we do hope in this competition we see the skipper firing and leading his team from the front. He did get his Kolkata to the final, wasn't it, of the IPL? Yeah. So his captaincy must have taken an upturn. Whether his form over the bat has is another question. So Morgan leads the squad: Moeen Ali, Johnny Bairstow, Sam Billings, Josh Butler, Tom Curran, Chris Jordan, Liam Livingston, Dawid Malan, Timol Mills, Adil Rashid, Jason Roy, David Willey, Chris Wokes, Mark Wood. Yeah, that's it. But Tom Curran, he was in, if you remember, Sam Curran had to pull out because of his lower back injury, which means he's going to miss the entire winter now. So his brother gets that spot ahead of him. Liam Dawson and James Vince are also going to be travelling with them, carrying some drinks, but on standby as well. Yeah. Okay.
Good England team, mate. Good England team. It could be better if you had people like Jofra Archer, if you had your Ben Stokes in the environment, you create a better team. But I guess, we always talk about it and we go, this is sneaky old. And I know there's pretty much back-to-back T20 World Cups going on, but this is the end of the road, these T20 World Cups, potentially for a few of these England players. David Malan, key to England. He's been superb since he's come into that number 3 slot. Most runs for the team since the last T20 World Cup, mate. One of only 2 players with a century as well, Liam Livingstone with the others, but 11 50s to his name. Strike rate of 139. He gets talked about going, he doesn't score fast enough. Let me tell you, Milan scores at 139.33. Joss Butler scores at 139.55. Not a bean between them. A bean's more than 0.12, apparently. Liam Livingstone's going to be... I speak about how highly I rate him, and people are starting to see that. We saw that incredible century that he scored. I think it was against Sri Lanka. He went mental. He got 348 runs in the 100. T20 Blast, he scored 279 runs in 6 games. Strike rate of 147. In the 100, he scored at a strike rate of 178. Against Pakistan, he scored at a strike rate of 216. He is big time, mate. 426 runs in the Big Bash the previous year. And he's played in the Pakistan Super League. And he's played in the Indian Premier League. Although they're not big stints, they're stints of cricket in subcontinent conditions, getting used to what he's about to see and hopefully go out and perform, mate. So he's going to be the big guy for England that we go. I'm not going to say it. Don't bring him into it. He's the next version of a Kevin Peterson type player that
enough.
Better at this format than other players.
Yeah. It's a good-looking team, isn't it? Butler and Roy's going to get them off the fly. Milan's been one of the best players out there. Bairstow's there at 4. Morgan, Livingston, Moeen Ali. Moeen Ali could be an absolutely key contributor in this team, batting down the order, being a bit of a finisher, but also bringing in the spin, partnering up with Adil Rashid, who's one of the best spinners in this format. Timo Mills could be a star of the tournament. Livingston, like I said about Josh Inglis, should be one of the new big names in world cricket at the end of this. But somebody else that I think is an absolute key to this setup, and that's Chris Jordan. Whether it's with a bat, whether it's with a ball, but he just catches everything as well. Multi-dimensional cricketer, absolute legend. I just think he doesn't get enough credit or respect that he probably deserves in this England setup. He's really key. But they've got to expect to go all the way. I think it'd be a disappointment if they fall short of getting through to that semi-final stage at the very least.
Batting critical as well, Rich, because England, since the last World Cup, 8.8 runs per over they score with the bat, which is the highest out of any team at the competition, mate. So they need to rely on that batting to give them the platform, because we know we don't have the best spinners. Yes, we've got Adil Rashid, but we haven't got the best spinners in the world. And we've got seamers who potentially haven't played that much cricket in this environment. So we've got to give them a backbone. And we've got the top 6 to do that. And we need to keep up with that record. 8.8 and over. That is better than New Zealand's 8.68. That's how maths works.
Oh, you've ruined it for New Zealand now. Right, South Africa. No spot in this squad for Faf du Plessis or Imran Tahir or Chris Morris. Temba Bavuma is going to be leading this team. He's recently had surgery on a broken thumb, but he should be okay to take the reins. It's a team not short on quality, but whether they have enough to make it through the group is another matter. Bit of an experience, really, isn't it? So they're led by Temba Bavuma, Keshava Maharaj is the vice captain and one of the main spinners, Quinton de Kock, Bjorn Fortuna, Reza Hendricks, Heinrich Klaassen, Aidan Markram, David Miller, Vian Mulder, Lungi Ngidi, and Rich Naughty. I love calling him Naughty. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Dwayne Pretorius, Kagisa Rabada, Tabriz Shamsi, and Rassi van der Dusen. Tabriz Shamsi, I think he's number 1 in the world, isn't he? T20 now. Economy rate 6.79 from 42 T20s is excellent. It should be even better over here as well. Left arm wrist spin of good variations and a decent googly, apparently. David Miller, that's another key player, I think, as well. 90 T20 caps, most experienced player. What else have you got for me in this one?
That's about it. I picked Shamsi out as being the critical cog to what they're going to do, mate. He's getting better the more that he plays. Indian Premier League, economy rate of 8.5. Series against Pakistan, 4 wickets with an economy rate of 7.4. Against Ireland, 7 wickets at 5.13 economy rate. In South Africa, in Pakistan, 6 wickets at 5.08. In Sri Lanka, 4 wickets at 6.7. That's an international cricketer getting it done in the subcontinent. He's going to be critical to allow the big, because they can score runs, South Africa. They've got a very, very good batting lineup. Quinton de Kock's absolutely world class these days. David Miller's got some of the best hands in cricket. Bavuma he's not Dean Elgar gritty, but he's got gumption about him, and he's got the ability to step up when they really need him at the big moments. And you bookend all this when you've got guys like Rabada, who are one of the best bowlers in the world. can bowl up to 150 clicks. It's a good team, but I can also see this South African team doing really poorly in the competition. It just depends how they turn up.
Yeah, absolutely. On paper, they could be okay, but it all depends if they get past that 11. If people aren't informed, where do they turn? Who's the man that's going to step up and become the name? West Indies. Okay, so nearly a decade after winning the first World Cup in Sri Lanka, Seema Ravi Rampal, last seen playing at Derbyshire, has his chance to add to the title after being recalled to this squad. Karan Pollard captains the defending champs and two-time winners, but they're without Sunil Narine after the off-spinner failed to meet his fitness standards. Interesting. So a squad full of T20 royalty in this one. Chris Gale, Dwayne Bravo, Dre Russ, Kyron Pollard. You cannot overlook this team, no matter what the bookies or anyone else may think. So Kyron Pollard's the captain, Nicholas Puran, Fabian Allen, Dwayne Bravo, Roston Chase, Andre Fletcher, Chris Gale, Shimron Hetmeyer, Evan Lewis, look out for him, Obed McCoy, Lendl Simmons, Ravi Rampal, Andre Russell, better known as Dre Russ, are Shane Thomas and Hayden Walsh Jr. Evan Lewis is another star of the tournament in the making for me, and Kyron Pollard is an absolute T20 heavyweight, isn't he? This is a pretty good team. They've got most of the big names back and involved. I think watch them go.
It's such a strange one, the West Indies setup, that you get to these tournaments and every country you go through, you're like, yeah, he's played 90% of the games, 80% of the games. West Indies, like, big tournament, let's bring in the heavyweights who are just going around doing their thing, playing in every single environment around the world and being absolute stars. And that's incredible that one country has been able to create that with so many different players. So it's very hard to look at the West Indies and go, oh, well, you've won 0.66 of your games. You've won 24, lost 36 since the last World Cup. You average 8 with the bat, which isn't that great. Only Ireland and Sri Lanka have got a worse winning record. It just all goes out the box, because Chris Gale's going to go ... 646 ... 64, and he's off, and then all of a sudden you're in a real load of trouble. And these guys have played this environment. They're good cricketers. I think the guy that's going to be the piece that kind of holds them together is Kyron Pollard in that middle, mate, filling in with good overs, good quality overs. He is slightly expensive on the economy rate, but he can pick up the odd wicket here and there, but he's not quite what he used to be. So he's got a really important role to work with some of the younger seam bowlers that's going to be in that team to give them solidity around the middle. And we all know about his power when he can go bang. From 479 domestic T20 games, he's got a strike rate of 154. That's no fluke that it's so high. The man that can hit balls for days.
Group 2 then, Rob. Let's get into it. Group 2, 4 more teams to go. Afghanistan. Ah, dear. What could have been, eh? What could have been? So, basically, straight away, as soon as the squad was announced, obviously less than an hour after that, Rashid Khan stepped down as captain, saying the selection committee and the ACB has not obtained my consent for the team, which has been announced by ACB media. So it's not a good start for them straight off the bat. He is still in the squad, though, which is great to see. Mr. Rashid Khan, one of the finest players in world at T20, well, in cricket, basically.
Yeah.
Led by Lance Klusner, it's not going to be easy competition for this unit. Obviously, there's so much going on in the home country. But they're an extremely talented unit and they have absolute match winners. So the squad, it's now going to be led by Mohammed Nabi. Then they've got Ramanullah Garbaz. Sorry about that, mate. Hazratullah Zaizai, Usman Ghani, Mohammed Shahzad, Hazmatullah Shahidi, Askar Afghan, Gulbuddin Naib, Najibullah Zadran, Karim Janat, Rashid Khan, Mujibu Rahman, the other young spinner, Hamid Hassan, Farid Ahmad Malik, and Naveen ul Haq. Right. They've got a few reserves with them as well, but they've just got such household names now, haven't they? Mujibu Rahman, Mohammed Nabi, captain, Rashid Khan. They're quality players. Yeah. Have they got enough? That's the big question. And are they in a mindset where they can really go and stir things up in world, in this competition in world cricket at the moment? Big question marks for this team.
I think they've probably been a little unlucky with the group that they've been given. I think if they were in a group and they've got Australia, England, South Africa, I think you're thinking, wow, they could really go and upset the apple cart. But in India and Pakistan, you've got 2 of the finest teams in the world. New Zealand might find themselves a little bit out of depth. But Afghanistan, since the last World Cup, mate, they've won 29 games and lost 6 at T20 cricket. Now, most of those are associate games, but that's why they're not in the associate section, because they're way beyond that already. All these names, you've mentioned 4 or 5 different names that are household names around world cricket, playing T20 cricket around the world. It's absolutely brilliant. And Rashid Khan, superstar, 76 wickets since the last World Cup at an economy rate of 5.97. It's the most wickets since the last World Cup. And he does it whatever he turns his hand to, right? He turns up in England, takes a load of wickets. He turns up for the 100, takes a load of wickets. 12 wickets at an economy rate of 6.79 is absolutely ridiculous. Pakistan Super League, 11 wickets, economy rate 5.47. Indian Premier League, 18 wickets at 6.7. The guy's a walking cheat code when it comes to playing in cricket. Out of all the spinners, and you've got Naveed Ul-Haq. I want to say his name is Ul-Haq. I might be getting that slightly. Naveen Ul-Haq, exceptional player I've seen quite a few times. But Zazi is brilliant. Watch him go if he goes. In February 2019, he hit 162 off 62 balls against Ireland. Record 16 sixes. Superb player, mate. Averages 40, 570 runs at a strike rate of 155 across cricket. And I know most of the games are against associates, but this is different to watching Bangladesh play coming out the associates when they came on. These guys have got genuine world-class talent that are playing this format of the game against the best in all different conditions. So these are a good team.
Yeah, Zaza, he's going to be opening the batting more than likely as well. And he's hit 6 sixes and over, hasn't he? He goes big. He's a massive hitter of the ball. He could go off. Who knows what could happen with this team if that happens. Rashid Khan, just worth mentioning, one of the finest T20 knocks I've seen in a long time was in the quarter-final for Sussex of the Big Bash, the Vitality Blast in England this year. One of the finest knocks you'll see. If you have not seen it, go back and have a look in that game that got him through to finals day. Sensational. He's a different player. He's not just a spinner anymore. He's somebody that can be an absolute destructive finisher. So we're not going to win any money by saying he's going to be the star of the tournament, but he's probably going to be the star of the tournament. Right. India. Okay. 4 years after he was discarded from India's T20 setup, Ravichandran Ashwin's forced his way back in. We love Ravi Ashwin. Okay. Another surprise move. The BCCI has roped in former captain MS Dhoni as a team mentor, very IPL-esque for this tournament. Although obviously Virat Kohli is going to be undoubtedly the team's leader. Power and precision with the bat, perfectly balanced ball and attack. The only surprise this Indian team could provide any of us is if they don't make it through to the final. I think that's the standard for this team. It's up to them to do that. It's a big old ask of them to live to that expectation, but that's what they do in India. They live to expectations. So Virat Kohli leading the squad, Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Suryakumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant, Ishan Kishan, Hardik Pandya, Ravi Jadeja, Rahul Chahar, Ravichandran Ashwin, Shardul Thakur, Varun Chakravarti, Jasprit Bumrah, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, and Mohammad Shami. We're going to see that top order, aren't we, of Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, and Virat Kohli. Not the KL Rahul we know from red ball cricket. This is the KL Rahul of white ball and IPL. You've got Yadav, you've got Pant, you've got Pandya, you've got Jadeja. Brilliant batting lineup. And then what a fantastic bowling attack as well of Kumar, Shami, and Bumrah. So complimentary, isn't it? So unbelievable team. I don't think we need to dwell too long on this Indian setup, but just say what a great side they've got.
They're a great team, mate. 145, lost 22 since the last World Cup. You look at the bowlers, Chahal's got 63 wickets, only second behind Rashid Khan. He leads the way. But when you look at the batting, I think what the guy that goes under the radar a little bit, and it does feel like he does, is KL Rahul, mate.
Yep.
Most runs in the IPL in 2020. Most runs in the IPL in 2021. 1,500 runs at 39. Strike rate 142 for India since the last World Cup. He's just an absolute incredible talent that just gets it done time and time again. Series and series again. It doesn't matter where he's playing. You've got alongside him Rohit Sharma, who's probably the finest cross-format opener in world cricket. 1,500 runs since the last World Cup, an absolute demon. And then you've got Virat Kohli coming in behind. What do you do? What do you do? Where do you bowl? Do you even want to get a wicket? Like it's making it incredibly difficult. There's huge depth. And then you've got the guys wanting the game of cricket, like Shreyas Iyer, who is absolutely incredible talent, averages 28 already, but he gets it done. He got 519 runs in the IPL 2020, slightly off this year, but only played 8 games, 175 runs at 35, average 40 against England in the T20 series, mate. He might not get a game. He might not get a start. Yeah,
I was going to say he's on the standby list, isn't he, at the moment? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, but again, that just makes your point, though. It just shows you the depth of this setup. You know, that the standby players could be superstars for another country in this tournament. So it just shows you, and it's just an incredible setup. And what an unbelievable, when you list that possible starting 11 as well, it just looks solid. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do in this tournament. And, as soon as we didn't get a fifth test, it'd be nice to see a bit more of India. So we're owed 5 days, India. Come on. Right, New Zealand, Rob, over to you in a moment. But yeah, this is a solid New Zealand squad, led as ever by Kane Williamson. They're going to be confident going deep in this competition, but they do have a tough draw with the subcontinent teams that they're surrounded by. They've got pace, they've got spinners, they've got top-notch batters, and they've got explosive hitters. Lot to love about this side. Glenn Phillips is in, really excited about that. He could be a superstar by the time this World Cup's over. Also, I like to just pick out these other players as well. Interesting inclusion of Mark Chapman, who I believe you've got. He's from the club that you played for a little bit. He also represented Hong Kong in 2 World Cups, T20 World Cup in 2014 and 2016. So that's an interesting one. I just love to see players that have played for another country turning up for the same tournament. So quickly the squad, and then it's over to you. So Kane Williamson, the captain, Todd Astle, Trent Boult, Mark Chapman, Devon Conway, Lockie Ferguson, Martin Guptill, Carl Jamieson, Daryl Mitchell, Jimmy Neesham, Glenn Phillips, Mitchell Santner, Tim Seifert, Ish Sodhi, Tim Southey, and Adam Milne is in his injury cover at the moment. Pretty good.
Yeah, it is a good team, mate. I just think they've got a really bad draw. Pakistan, India, and potentially Bangladesh coming through the initial group stages in a subcontinent condition is going to make it incredibly difficult. A few players to touch on. Devon Conway, everything he touches turns to gold, mate. He averages 59 in T20 international cricket after 14 T20 internationals. He's an absolute specimen. He scored 309 runs, averaged 61 in the T20 Blast, scored runs in the 100. He's just doing well, but it's not going, he scored runs against Bangladesh or West Indies in New Zealand in T20s. He played 5 one-days against Australia and averaged almost 50 at a strike rate of 140. He's brilliant. Glenn Phillips, you touch on him. Mr. 700 push-ups a day. That's the Glenn Phillips way. He just gets bigger and bigger and keeps trying to hit the ball further and further. But he's been doing it a long time around the New Zealand domestic scene before he kind of got his opportunities in the Caribbean Premier League. And every single time he goes out there, he goes and shines. He really, really does. And then he's come into this New Zealand team. He scored 100 in T20 international cricket and he keeps scoring runs. T20 Vitality Blast in England, 500 runs. Average of 55, strike rate of 163. That's pretty special. You may see Mark Chapman in there as well because he's going to give a little bit of flexibility. He can bowl some left-arm spin. That's him bowling left-arm spin. He's not a great spinner. He's too good for me. He's not a great spinner at international level, but he may be able to tie up a couple of overs with a half-decent economy rate of 7.31 across his career. Also, back in 2017, top scorer in the T20 smash out here, and that's what kind of got him on the radar of playing international cricket with the Black Caps. So superb team, superb players, good squad. I think just have got a really rough end of the draw, and I'm not quite sure how well they're going to do.
Look, if New Zealand are anywhere near the final of this competition, and if they go on and win it, this could probably be one of the most impressive performances in any World Cup ever for T20. Yeah. The fact that they've come from this tough draw and they get through in the subcontinent, in the Middle East, basically, will be an incredible achievement. So it's up against them, but you wouldn't discount them at all. Yeah. So last but not least, and our optimistic 45 minutes is ran over. We apologise. If you're still with us, we thank you so much. But last but not least, Pakistan, a team that I really, really like, and they just need to turn some of those performances into wins. Led by Matthew Hayden, Vernon Philander involved in the coaching setup now. Their preparations have been really hampered. Obviously, New Zealand series cancelled at last minute, and then England refused to travel, as we know. But as I said, squad full of quality, just need to turn some promising performances into wins, and there are match winners in this squad. Babar Azam, there's not many better than him in the world. He's going to lead from the front. They've also got people like Rizwan, Mohammed Hafiz, etc. Shaheen Shah Afridi, I love the guy. Absolutely love him. Absolute unit. But this is a squad. Babar Azam, Shadab Khan, Mohammed Rizwan, Asif Ali, Shoaib Malik, Safraz Ahmed, Haider Ali, Mohammed Hafiz, Mohammed Nawaz, Mohammed Wazim Jr. I love the junior in there. Yeah. Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Ralph, Hassan Alin, Imad Wazim, Fakhar Zaman, and then they've got a few reserves as well travelling. But that's a pretty good team for me. Fakhar Zaman, Mohammed Rizwan at the top of the order, Babar Azam, Mohammed Hafiz at 4. That's a really good top. And then you've got the likes of, you've got the Imad Wazim, Shadab Khan, etc. Shaheen Shah Afridi with the other seamers of Ralph and Hassan Ali. It's a really good team, and I don't understand why they can't win more games of cricket.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because some formats they've done pretty poor in, and they've had a pretty rough time. Like they don't play many games in Pakistan, But since the last World Cup, 71 games, won 40, lost 20. The second best win ratio out of all the teams at the competition, mate. And it's done on the back of some amazing batting, you've got to say. Babar Azam, since the last World Cup, most runs by 500 runs, more than any other player that's played cricket in T20 internationals, 2,204 runs, average of 46, strike rate of 130. Extremely, extremely talented player. And then you throw in a Fakhar Zaman who's got over 1,000 runs, strike rate of 136 as well. Mohammed Rizwan seems to get better, 959 runs, an average of touching 60, getting Steve Smith sort of numbers out there. The incredibly talented team. But I think the thing that's the narrative around Pakistan, this tournament, it's all about they've been hard done to. They've been hard done to by the Black Caps. They've been hard done to by the English. And it's united a nation around passion and emotion and putting everything into this competition. And this competition is very much a big middle finger to those teams that have let them down, showing we don't need you, we can do this. We might not be one of the big 3 or 4 test nation sort of thing financially, but we are more than capable of going to do this. And they've got 2 huge games. 1, playing India in the World Cup is absolutely massive. 2, when we had Javeed Khan from Green Team 1992 on, playing the Black Caps felt a bigger game than India because they'd let them down. You just imagine if they beat India, they beat the Black Caps, and they go and do England in the semi-final or final, mate. Absolutely. Limbs flying everywhere. They'll be loving it.
Exactly. They get underway the day after the Super 12 starts on the 24th of October, and they do play India, second game of the day, that one. So tune in, get that one in your diary. Right, let's wrap it up, Rob. So we said, pretty much both of us said Ireland and Sri Lanka are going through, Bangladesh and either Scotland or Oman. I don't think any of those teams are going to be troubling us for getting through to the semi-final. So let's pick them then, Rob. Who's getting through to the semi-finals? Australia, England, South Africa, West Indies. I'm going to go England, West Indies.
England, South Africa.
Wow, that is a big one. Get some money on South Africa if that's what you reckon.
Yeah.
Group 2, Afghanistan, India, New Zealand, Pakistan. Sorry.
Pakistan going to win the group, and India are going to go through with them.
I knew I should have gone first on that one. You've stolen my thunder. I've said India, Pakistan as well. So who's winning those? Who's getting through to the final? Do you know what? I don't even think I want to predict that one actually. So I don't want to discount England. So, yeah.
Well, I think you're going to end up with a Pakistan-England final. I really.
Oh wow, that would be impressive.
I really do. I think England are they have players that have got the ability to step up, and no matter what the environment, can go and perform. And I think England can go and beat India in the semi-final. I think Pakistan beats South Africa, and then it's an England-Pakistan final, and I think Pakistan win it.
Wow. Okay, that'll be a hell of a tournament if that's happened. There's going to be some bit of a shockers, isn't there? Yeah. Pakistan quality side, but if they get through, and get through to the final, then there's been a few teams that aren't happy with how they perform. Let's put it that way. Roll on, bring it on. Like I say, tomorrow it starts. Oman against Papua New Guinea is the first game of this tournament. The hosts will open it up in their picturesque venue. Bring it on, Rob. Bring it on. That's all we can say as well. Bangladesh and Scotland also start on the first day as well. So Scotland straight up and running. Who am I picking? I struggle to get past West Indies when I'm looking at who can go through. But it's a difficult one. I've got to see England in there. England, India is what everybody wants. That's what the bookie's saying. I wouldn't surprise me if England, India are in there. If it is, it's going to be a tough one for England. But I've got to go with England. I've got to stick with my team. And that's not to say that I wouldn't be surprised if West Indies or India or somebody else wins this one. But of course, I've got to go England.
I think England-India final on paper is the best 2 teams in the competition. Hands down, best 2 teams. And that's kind of the big box office draw. I think I've gone for the emotional heartstrings of Pakistan.
Yeah, I like it.
As working the way through to the final. So that is it. That is the T20 World Cup preview done. In a nutshell, the nutshell was many nutshells, and it's taken an hour and 15 minutes to get through, but that is it. You can listen to this, and now you can go and enjoy the rest of the competition going, gosh, that guy from Papua New Guinea, Rob's wife's from there. Oh, great. That's your takeaway.
Good old Supervan. Absolutely. We might need to get you to put something at the start just to say, just take your time with this one. Imagine it's 2 podcasts in one.
2 podcasts in one. We'll put some timestamps below, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We can't wait for the tournament to kick off in a couple of days' time. You've been absolute legends. Till next time.